India has got yet another Ramsar site in its bag, taking the count to 99 now. But why does Ramsar site help India in wetland conservation? What exactly is a Ramsar site, and when we are looking at numbers, how are they spread across the state? Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we will be discussing all the questions that we have just talked about now. So when we are looking at today, let us start with understanding that what exactly is the news. So as of now, there has been another addition to the Ramsar sites in India, and that addition comes from UP as Shekha Jheel, which is present in Aligarh. Now, this takes the count for Uttar Pradesh to 12 in number, and this takes the count for India to 99 in number in terms of Ramsar sites which are present across our country. Now, specifically when we are talking about this Shekha Jheel, it is present in Upper Ganga Yamuna Doab, and if we are talking about specifically the district, it is Aligarh district where it is located. Another important thing to remember here is that this is a freshwater wetland. So when we are looking at wetlands, we have three broad categories in front of us. We have freshwater wetlands, we have coastal wetlands, and we also have marshy mangrove wetlands. Now in this context, this wetland is influenced by the seasonal hydrology, that how water, the incoming, the flow movement is affected by seasons, and also the irrigation networks which are present in this very region. So the artificial as well as the natural hydrology affects this freshwater wetland. Now when we are talking about this significant wetland which has just earned the tag of a Ramsar site, now let us also move to understand that why it is important and what are the key ecological features for which it is significant. First and the most important one here is that this is a very important stopover in Central Asian Flyway. So if we look at the major Asian migratory bird flyways, Central Asian Flyway is this. Now the migration of birds, be it from Siberia to South Asia and also some regions in West Asia, happens through this migratory route. And because of this, when we are talking about Shekha Jheel, it is a habitat not just for migratory birds such as ducks, such as storks, waders, etc. But there are certain resident species also present such as herons and egrets. Furthermore, aquatic vegetation and plankton diversity is also present. So when we are looking at the biodiversity, it is not just about migrant species but also the resident species, and when we are looking across the animal kingdom, a lot of biodiversity comes across the range here as well. Now we have understood about the wetland, but we started with the conversation that this has earned the Ramsar tag. What exactly is this tag? Why a site, wetland site, becomes important when it has earned this tag? Let us try to understand that now. When we are talking about Ramsar sites, this whole idea and the nomenclature comes from Ramsar Convention. Ramsar is a city in Iran. It was signed in 1971, but it came into force 4 years later. However, India joined it almost 10 years later in 1982. So 1971 it was signed, India joined after 10 years in 1982. Now based on this, a clear definition of wetlands is highlighted. So what exactly is a wetland? Wetland is any marshy, lake-like region, river, mangrove, coral reefs, artificial wetland, which has the whole ecosystem present. So Ramsar Convention is not merely about the species but the whole ecosystem itself. Now based on this, when we define wetland, it does have an example. What exactly wetland means here is that it is a transitional ecosystem where either soil is covered with water for certain duration of time or all year long, and the examples here are given as marshes, lakes, rivers, mangroves, coral reefs, and also artificial wetlands which are created by humans. Now, when we are talking about Ramsar Convention, this is the origin of Ramsar sites, and they have laid out the core principle that how wetlands need to be approached as per this convention. The first core principle here is wise use approach. That means the utilization needs to be sustainable so as to ensure that this ecosystem does not degrade. Second, ecological character maintenance. So, when we are talking about the biological, hydrological and also the chemical character of that wetland, that needs to be preserved. That means that ecological character does not need to change, it needs to be maintained. And in order to ensure that, there is international cooperation, especially for trans-boundary wetlands and also where we see migratory species moving. So, in this context, when we are talking about Shekha Jheel especially, it is definitely not a transboundary wetland, it is present corely in mainland Uttar Pradesh in India, but yes, from the perspective of migratory species, it becomes important. I would like to highlight here yet again that when we are talking about Ramsar sites, Ramsar Convention, it focuses on the whole wetland ecosystem, not just species per se. Now, this is where we move to talk about Ramsar sites. Now, a Ramsar site is a designated wetland of international importance based on Ramsar Convention. And for these sites, the core principles that we have just talked about will be followed. So, any wetland which gets the tag of a Ramsar site, it is of international ecological importance. So, when we look at Shekha Jheel getting this international tag, this is where we also get to understand the local to global linkage as well. So, in this context, as of now, India has 99 Ramsar wetland sites which are present across the state. India happens to be one of the top countries in terms of numbers when we are talking about the Ramsar coverage with 13 to 15 lakh acres. When we are looking at how it evolved, 1982 we signed the convention, and that was the time we got the first sites in 2 years, Chilika Lake in Odisha and then Keoladeo Ghana National Park in Rajasthan. However, this number in front of us when we are talking about 99, major of it has come after 2014 because there was extreme focus on wetland conservation diplomacy and how the international recognition can give us local to global linkage. So, the policy prioritization in terms of wetlands has led to increase in this number that we are seeing. Now, on this note, can you tell me in the comment section that which state you are coming from and how many Ramsar sites are present there, and bonus points for writing down all the sites from your state. As of now, the leading number is present with Tamil Nadu, that is 20 sites, and the state with most rapid expansion that has been seen, especially in last 10 years, has been Uttar Pradesh with 12 sites in their bucket. Now, remembering the Ramsar sites and states are very important because we usually get questions directly from there. I have already placed a practice question in the end of session which will give you an insight that how questions can be asked from here. Now that we are discussing Ramsar sites in detail, let us also talk about the significance of Ramsar sites, why we are picking up so many here and why they are globally important. First is because of the ecological significance. This is not just about a geographical feature, this is about how these regions are biodiversity hotspots. Presence of birds, fish, migratory species and amphibians as well. These wetlands are very critical when we are looking from the perspective of India for migratory routes. I have just mentioned the migratory route, that is Central Asian Flyway. When we are looking at such a holistic ecosystem, this also enables a lot of resilience for ecosystem when we are talking about adverse condition, especially ecologically and given the time where we are seeing such huge ecological degradation. But it is not just for the ecological significance, there are certain functions that wetlands perform for us, such as hydrological functions. Groundwater recharge is enabled by wetlands, flood control is enabled, natural water purifier. Example, East Kolkata wetland, they are the ones which are responsible for naturally treating sewage across in this region. Then there are also known significantly for the climate change role they are playing. When we are looking at wetlands, they are known for sequestering carbon, and this is more than forests. So if we are looking at per unit area in terms of carbon absorption, it is more for wetlands and limited for forest. And they also act as a natural buffer against extreme events that take place. For example, floods, droughts in the given area. Because of such a dynamic ecosystem, they contribute economically as well, be it in terms of agriculture, fisheries, ecotourism, where we can take a very good example that how the tag for Shekha Jheel of Ramsar Site can turn it into an ecotourism hub, and this enables livelihoods for millions. And when we are looking at administratively, strategically, directly linked to Sustainable Development Goal 6 related to water security, it helps India with the nationally determined commitments, and it also strengthens India environmental diplomacy, wetland conservation diplomacy, the changing foray of diplomacy. This is where India gets another front to perform. But at the same time, it's not that easy. There are challenges which are present. Challenges such as pollution, urbanization, encroachment. These are the ones which are threatening these wetlands, degrading these wetlands, and they are challenging what the better purpose wetlands are trying to serve. Furthermore, in another context that we need to see, when we are talking about Ramsar tag, it does give the international significance, but that doesn't mean that it has strong legal protection. And when we look at legal protection, national laws are important, and as of now there is weak implementation of wetland rules of 2017 which were brought with great enthu, but that did not work for implementation. And if wetlands are altered, degraded, there will be consequences where we will be seeing harsher impact of climate change and ecological degradation in multiple forms, such as invasive species coming in, siltation, shrinking of wetland areas, and so much more. So this is where I leave you with a very important question, that what should be done? What should be the way forward? Let me give you a hint. The challenges need to be addressed, and their addressal will become the way forward. So let me know the pointers in the comment section that what should be the way forward of this situation. As I promised, I'll also be giving you a prelims practice question here. Now this is the question for you, very easy if you have done the whole session with me. If still not, I think you will be able to figure out if you have revised the wetlands, as it is a very important topic, especially when we are looking at environment and ecology. I'm hoping you send me the answer in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.